to enable non-linear inclusive socioeconomic transformation, having use case-based approaches to building DPI. We have our moderator Alok Gupta, who's the Chief of Solutions and Product Officer at X.
For that. Before I start, I'm actually very tempted, sitting in Cape Town, sitting with folks working to enable. What are the use cases or the sector you're focusing?
What economically it gets in the hands of marginalized communities to benefit from it. We have to do is we need to ensure that AI natively be embedded into these one-click installers. Like to it, and this is open networks for digital commerce. And how do we stimulate small businesses to participate into an
So we start with that. And second, importantly, we're a utility computing organization. We're not an organization. We try to help bring the capability into the country rather than trying, I guess, activate the market, get the local.
Them, unpack them, and gone sector agnostic. Africa, Pacific, and Caribbean. Ideally, and that's what I
has been successfully collaborating, partnering with governments and central banks across the world for decades. Yesterday and the day before around payments, infrastructure, identity, and data, where it is right now with 80+ million users with 2.5 billion.
Furthest to the conference, I think I've come from New Zealand, so it's about a 30-hour flight, so it's lovely to be here. I think the thing that we've come from is, we've been around about 25 years. I think the thing that we've come from is, we've been around about 25 years. Of that capacity and work with a lot of different sort of parts of the ecosystem that we see here today.
Deployable, dependable, and distributable. That is our country. But we did an implementation also. Implemented it in Kenya, and they repeated it in a few other countries as well.
What's the role you played? What was the...
New Zealand, where I'm also from, the government could, compared to many, afford to do the approach we would take working with a country like New Zealand. It's reused maybe the last 9 months, and it's proven a game changer. Frankly, becomes really short, and that's worked really well in New Zealand. It's worked.
So Clayton, and you're actively engaged in agri, as you're mentioning. Help us understand what you're witnessing and how you
increase in margin. That alone was a good indicator of the success. Increase in margin. That alone was a good indicator of the success. And open network culture. Sangetika has been working with us in Morocco. I think in Morocco was a perfect use case of how we can go from 0 to 1. And is driven by foundational agriculture. I think food security is a big challenge. So as much as we want to
traditional SI model, you'll hire a vendor and they build for you.
Yeah, I think is in Africa that basically wants to stimulate their small businesses, and we can come up with a very, very interesting for these partners to grow and build to grow and build
our ISV products. If you look at that larger lens of that experience, how do you reflect?
From the beginning, Deloitte actually spent a humongous amount of time working with partners. We are an organization. Humongous amount of time working with partners. We are an organization which worse. So I like this word, so I'm going to start using that. Play a big role. They bring the deep product knowledge of the to actually deploy the applications on.
Now, as things are moving, if you can also share any specific projects, which MasterCard is engaged where
Governments and central banks a choice. To inform them of what's available. If you want something hyper-scalable, highly resilient in the Philippines to digitize 50% of all of their retail payments, that was a clear DPI milestone, an objective that they had. But
it's not going to work. So as a ISV, it's not going to work. So as a ISV, how do you see this?
With scale like India in Diksha, right? That gives the first level of confidence and trust to any adopter. Right? As an ISV, it doesn't stop at creating that packaged, reusable DPG, right? That's what is the model, right? Take a trustable, proven DPG, create that. I can do some additional layers on top of it, right? Some good interfaces, and now the AI age.
Somewhere between 100,000 to 1 million. 1 to 10 is around 60. Next 60 sits around 10 to 50. And on population front, on the cost viability front, on
the right types of organizations to work together, and those different organizations will vary depending on the strategy for that company, for the country, the strategy for that company, collaboration mix as well. And then in weeks or months that very large organizations sometimes can struggle with, but then we still rely.
A serious, and a genuine need, right, to avoid that. So I'll come to Pete, to you.
But I think ultimately, some of the fundamentals of the DPI, but in other cases, it's have I got the local vendors, the local suppliers. But in other cases, it's have I got the local vendors, the local suppliers, the ISVs.